Okay, this is the video showing the modifications and bits and pieces, little touch-ups I've done to the wood hot water system today, and a few of the other observations I've had from running it. I will warn you that the first part of this video contains a fair bit of swearing when I'm talking about the stupid shower head, which I could not seem to get to mount easily, even though it should have been a very easy task. And yeah, it may be a bit hard to follow that, but you will notice that I swear quite a bit in that, and that's how I talk in day-to-day life if something is annoying me, and usually I turn on the swear filter when I make YouTube videos, but there's another little tidbit you never knew. I swear pretty flaming good. But anyway, here we go. Alrighty, well that foam idea was a bloody stupid bastard of an idea. It ended up spraying on the wall here, so I thought, well stuff it, I'm going to go get the proper fitting. And I realised that to attach the proper fitting with a zip tie, I was going to have to drill through the back, which I'd done and blew the absolute shit out of it. It broke in half. So I went and got one off of the other two pumps I had, and what do you know, it fits perfectly. So it's a blue one as opposed to a black one that I broke, drilling a hole in the back of it. Yeah, a little bit too fast for the drill. Anyway, I put that on and the damn thing was spraying against the side of this again. I'm thinking, you stupid bastard. So what I've worked out, this has actually got a bit of a groove in the top of it. I can't even see there, but you probably can. And I put a bit of, you probably see a bit of wood there. There's a packer. And then it was still sort of flopping around when I had a bit of wood either side. It made no difference. So I took that piece of wood out and it was flopping around. I thought, well, hang on a minute. Let's put an elastic band there, back to the zip tie and around it to hold it down that way. And now it's got enough of a tilt by having the packer only on one side and the elastic band there that it now hits basically, I'll get out and I'll show you. There's the shower base, so she hits basically around there. And none of it hits the damn wall. So that's pretty good anyway. That'll do me well. Now I'll go and show you some of the other bits and pieces I'm going to do and have done. I also got a bit of Teflon tape and whacked it in. Now they give you two O-rings. I don't know why, because one side's flat, but I only ended up putting one O-ring in and it was leaking like a sieve, and I didn't know if I wanted to put the second O-ring in, so I thought stuff it. So where the shower head screws into the fitting here, loaded her up with Teflon tape, and what do you know, she sealed it beforehand. In the first shower head, the thing was dripping the whole time. And here, there's warm water that's just trickling out that you're not even getting covered by, and I thought, well that's bullshit. I want that to go at the shower head, so old Teflon tape saved the day yet again. Now, I was rather lucky that this foam we used in here, at least on the top and the bottom, was fire rated. There she's, nice pink foam and dew. I don't know how well you can see that, but she's looking a little bit blackened. It's looking very blackened up there. Yeah, what basically happens when you have small wood, it burns faster. As you'll probably know, the difference between burning kindling or small bits of 4x2 as opposed to large logs, it burns a bit faster, quite a lot faster. And as a result, it can't get all the smoke to go up through the pipes in there. So then it throws the smoke and the flames out the front. And also it doesn't help the fact that the sticks I'm using, which is split up bits of dry pine firewood, are actually a little bit too big and they're hanging out the front. And of course, you know, when they're burning up around here, well, the flames just go straight up. It was very lucky that was fire rated, so yeah, because the flames were licking up around here and the old spark was getting up near here, and you could tell it wasn't liking it, and it was making some sort of funny crackling noises and whatnot. But of course it didn't catch on fire because it's fire rated for 4 hours, thank God. And basically what we're going to do is get a bit of sheet metal and sort of rivet it on to the main cover, a big thing around there to sort of, you know, a bit of a gap. The sheet metal will be down here and just like an L-shaped piece up to here, just to sort of protect this against any direct flame or direct smoke. And as I don't know how well you can see it, but I can see it quite well. Smoke stains in the front. It seems to get smoke stains directly above where the firebox is, which is no surprise if the flames are flicking out and some of the smoke's coming up around here and whatnot, that it's going to be like that. But some of the discoloration in the foam, that isn't actually smoke, that's actually it getting a little bit too hot and sort of going black on its own. Now, I actually overfilled this when I was finished using it. And what happened is the shower was pretty warm, and then it started to get a little bit too warm, so I turned this refill tap on a bit, and then I turned it on a bit more, and at the end of the shower there it was only barely warm at all, but I didn't really care because I was just trying to refill this so the water wouldn't boil and wouldn't boil the pump in the process. In that, I sort of heard some funny trickling noises and that while I was drying myself, so I turned it off just in time, well, not quite in time, and it actually come out and filled up around here. And yes, as I suspected, the pure heat of this top ended up evaporating the stuff in here, and the rest of it ended up going out basically that hole there that I drilled through into the insulation. And that was the noises I was hearing. Fortunately, none of it actually went down the pipes and caused real thermal contraction issues, because when you've got things that are very hot and you suddenly pour cold water on, they can actually crack, and I didn't want that to happen, obviously. Another thing I was a little bit worried about was any sort of steam turning back to water and creosote and shit getting in this. And I done this last night when it was still rather hot. Put the silicone right around there so as to give it a bit of an edge. So there's a little bit of height there so that if any muck does come down, it can't jump over this edge and get into your main water supply. Getting back to what I was saying, when I filled this up and it overflowed slightly, the time it took me to dry myself off, put clothes on, put my boots on and come out here, basically 4 or 5 minutes, this water, 4 or 5 minutes after I refilled this, was hot enough to have another shower. I think there must have been a lot of heat in the pipes and in the tank, and as I was pouring that warm water in, the cold water in from the refill, literally 5 minutes it was hot enough to have another shower again, even though the last bit of my shower was not cold but not really very warm that much. Probably only sort of 20 degrees Celsius or something like that, which I think is about 68 Fahrenheit. But, you know, 4 or 5 minutes and it reheated enough to be fine. Now, you're not going to believe this, but that shower, you know, I had that, whatever it was, I don't really know, actually. It could have been like 8 o'clock or something, 9 o'clock, who knows, probably 8 o'clock. I come out here this morning and this still had lukewarm water in it, and there was a slight amount of heat still in this. Hours later, after being outside in about 10 degrees Celsius or 55 degrees Fahrenheit, this retained its heat for bugger knows how many hours. Probably damn near 12 hours. Unbelievable. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, it's super efficient and quite surprising some of the things this thing can do. But anyway, I still got to get on and make the cover for the top of this and do the little sheet metal bit down the bottom, and I'll show you when I have done the cover. Okay, so I got the basic shape here, slightly bigger than it needs to be. In the building industry, when you have roof sheets, they're supposed to hang over 40 mil from the back of the gutter. You can get away with 1 inch, but it's liable to backfire, and it's supposed to be 40 mil. So yeah, these are like a little bit more than they need to be, larger than the actual size of the top, but that notch there is for where the water pump outlet goes, and that's for where the water inlet goes. And I've got these little feet thingy I made up here that I'm going to have to rivet on there, and same over here, to sort of elevate the back a bit. And the front ones, the underside of this is going to sit flat to the actual sheet metal, but to keep it reasonably well in line, I just got some bits of angle, and these are sort of basically going to just get riveted straight on like this or whatever, probably on actually the higher points, and we'll see. I might not even get it to sit properly on the higher points and get a rivet through, so I might have to go on the lower points. But yeah, just to sort of basically hold on to the edge. So it's sort of going to be sitting like that, so to speak. You know, and the other one's going to be like that. And I've sort of got what was a giant concrete pipe, then turned into a water tank which leaked like a sieve, and then I've basically filled it with firewood and put a roof on, using pretty much the same sort of a principle to hold the roof in place around the edges of this tank. But of course these ones are going to be elevated, and your little slots there are going to slot into the actual sheet metal, you know, that's holding the insulation there. Alrighty, there's our firebox and stuff, and the tank, and there's our little bit there. You can see there's the foam that got too hot, and there's a bit of a gap between it. And what I basically done was I done the lid, which I'll show you in a second, and from the same bit of steel, this was the edge, nice curved edge, and it just seemed to fit this quite nicely. And then I sort of bent it over and built in a few rivets, and so I can show you the other side here. There we go. But that should protect it from heat there. That's liable to get very smoke stained, but the idea is the heat is going to hit this bit of steel and probably transfer into the rest of the outside of the steel here that hangs on the insulation and dissipate the heat through this, as opposed to singeing the foam again. Oh! Rightio. Roofski. There's my little feet in the back. Yeah, you can see the other one. Yeah, I sort of put this on and I realised that on these edges here, it doesn't overhang very much. I'll show you what I mean. It's just in some parts. Now, when I cut this out, I've done all this by eye. I didn't use a proper arc. In your front here, you got plenty of room, but as you go around to your side edge, it sort of gets a lot thinner and barely got any overhang. So to make up for that, I basically pulled this forwards a bit before I riveted in this. And I was going to put two of these in, and I've only put one at the front to sort of help pull this whole show forward, so I'll get enough overhang for these bits, even though I've got plenty for the front here. Yeah, so it's got the 2 feet at the back and just a little one at the front. I'll show you a view at the top here. When I originally done this, when I was, you know, trying to work it all out, this piece here was hard up against the back here, and so I had to cut a slot there for the water inlet pipe, which turns out I don't even need now. But anyway, there's the one there for the thinger. I've sort of got around and flared all that out a bit with pliers there, but you know, that's sort of, oh, you can barely see it with a flash, but that's got a decent, quite a steep angle on it. But this is not for having on during use, this is just to keep the rain off it when it's not in use. Yeah. That little plate there, it wouldn't have been a stupid idea to weld on little bits of 3mm rod or solder them or something, because that really wants to sit in place. It's a bit of a, it's got a tendency to sort of go side on all the damn time, because of your power wire there and your water inlet wire sort of want it just to twist side on. But yeah, it's sort of, you got to fiddle with it a bit, but it would have been nice if I had had a bit of rods around the side to just drop it straight in on the rods, and then you would have been good, sort of thing. I have been getting a bit of muck coming up through the water, just a bit of bubbles, but there's also clumps. And I'll sort of explain what I think is going on. That's what I've been scooping it out with anyway. That's actually plastic, that's I got that as part of the house cleanup during my business, but now what it seems is, you see you got your This is your water tank here, and you see where it's been welded there by the manufacturer when it's a propane tank, and even the firebox one here. Now, I'll use the inside of the firebox as an example. What I'm noticing inside the water tank, and it was quite hard to see it, and I'm surprised I picked it up, was there's a patch about that big around that seam where all this sort of yellow white stuff is just appearing, like the scum just appearing there. Now my theory is it's actually been flux of some sort from when the propane tank was originally built. Now if you get a keen eye, you'll be able to see that there. See what they actually do, they belt these circular parts out that are the ends, and then they sort of seat inside the main side walls of the tank, and then it gets welded. And if you, I don't know if you can see it so well there, but there's actually two layers. You can see, you know, the layer of the outer wall and the layer of the dome piece. But in all that, they probably use flux. Now, for those of you who don't know, some in the gun community may know this, steel is actually porous. Now, chrome molybdenum basically almost isn't porous, pretty much, and you tend to get a lot of crap building up in your gun barrels because the pores of the steel don't absorb any of the crap, whereas a lot of these things, it'll actually soak in oil, soak in flux and whatnot, and I reckon some of the flux may have actually soaked in to the steel and then come out when it's exposed to water, because it's obviously not a problem with running cars on propane. Like, it doesn't come out when the propane's in the tank. It doesn't affect the engine itself or anything like that. You know, not that they know of or are doing anything about it anyway. But, you know, now there's water there that may have brought the flux out of the pores of the steel and be giving me that crap, which sort of makes me think that in hindsight, if I had known that, I would have filled this up with water for a week and then sort of pressure washed it out to get any of the flux off around, you know, where it exists. But it's almost like a definite line that sort of just exists like that. But that's just a bizarre little observation. The other one is that bubbling I thought was simmering. I don't know what is going on, to be quite honest, but when I come out in the morning after this thing, 12 hours after it was lit, I could still hear the bubbling. I assumed it was simmering. But then when this thing's only about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius, and it was 12 hours since the fire went out and it's still making a bubbling noise, it's not simmering. It was too cold to be simmering. And of course the fire was out a long time ago. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's the anode reacting with the flux in the water or the anodes reacting with rusting steel or what the heck's going on, but I think it would be more likely the anode reacting with the flux that's in the water or something like that. But I don't know. It's just continuing to bubble, but I'm not going to make any grand statements because often enough things like this are a learning experience, and so many people sort of want to fit in things that they don't understand into their existing knowledge, and there may not be something they've learned yet. So to fit it into your existing knowledge, you may be stating something that's not exactly the case because you don't fully understand it, and I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I think this putty idea was a stupid idea. Yeah, it seems to go on a lot of white around that, but these apparently is primarily alkaline salts, 60% alkaline salts for that putty, so. Anyways, that's about that, and I've got to go do some other stuff.